Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Militant Negro Network on YouTube. I am Mr. Militant Negro. You are now at my network, a place where truth, facts, and honest thoughts and opinions are spoken. Welcome, enjoy yourselves, and please subscribe. It appears we have another incident in the United States of America where an off-duty police officer decided he needed to unholster a weapon and discharge it. There has to be some revision on this off-duty cop policy. I mean, in a profession like, say, a doctor or a lawyer, where you can be off duty and not working, say out doing whatever, and you see an incident happen where your expertise is needed, I can understand that. But I can't understand an off-duty law enforcement official who does not witness a crime going down, as they say, or a crime in progress. I can't understand an off-duty law enforcement person pulling a weapon and discharging that weapon when it's not necessary. If you're off-duty and you're a cop, you need to remain off-duty unless, and I stress the word unless, there is an imminent threat to someone's life or safety. Now, the story I'm referring to happened in Anaheim, California, where an off-duty cop pulled his weapon at some teenagers and apparently, allegedly, fired that gun. That is correct. He discharged his weapon at some teenagers, allegedly because they walked on his grass. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but it escalated. And when I say escalated, I mean it escalated into a brawl, which later escalated into protest by other people in Anaheim. Here's the story that I'm currently going to read from NBCnews.com. Hundreds of protesters descended on the home of a Los Angeles police officer Wednesday after video surfaced of the off-duty cop's apparent firing a gun during a scuffle with a 13-year-old that erupted after the teenager and friends allegedly walked on this off-duty police officer's lawn. Let me repeat that for you in case you didn't totally understand it. An off-duty Los Angeles police officer pulled a weapon and fired that weapon during a scuffle with a 13-year-old kid. After that kid and his friends walked across this off-duty cop's grass. Not the kind you smoke either. Green grass in the front yard, lawn. Okay, back to the story. The teenager wasn't hit by gunfire, but Jennifer Dorsch, his grandmother, told NBC News that he sustained a lot of bruises during Tuesday's altercation in Anaheim, which happens to be 25 miles southeast of LA. No one else was injured, but I guess not for lack of trying on the off-duty cop's part. 24 protesters, 10 men, 8 women, and 6 juveniles, which is another way of saying 6 children, were arrested near the officer's house, and there were reports of broken windows and other acts of vandalism. Sergeant Darren Wyatt, An Anaheim police spokesman told NBC Los Angeles that the officer has been in an ongoing dispute with a number of juveniles, which again is legal speak for kids, who continually walk across his property. He's asked them to stay off the property, but on Tuesday it happened again, and it led to a verbal confrontation between the off-duty officer and a group of individuals, Wyatt said. Wyatt continued that statements indicated that the officer was trying to detain the individual until the Anaheim Police Department could arrive, based on an alleged threat that this 13-year-old kid was going to shoot the off-duty officer. Now let's keep in mind, okay, this 13-year-old child was not armed. There was never any weapon of any kind in the vicinity or possession of this 13-year-old child. So once again, we have a cop using the threat of bodily harm or a weapon as a ruse to pull his firearm and sway it around, wave it around, threaten a 13-year-old child and that child's friends. You get tired of hearing this same old bullshit excuse for a cop to pull a weapon. I'm sorry, I thought my life was in danger. I felt threatened. He said he was going to kill me. This is a 13 motherfucking year old kid, okay, who had no weapon. So where's the threat here? A grown-ass man and a 13-year-old kid. And how does a 13-year-old kid get bruised by a grown-ass fucking off-duty cop? Explain that one to me. Alright, back to the story. The officer wasn't arrested because there was no ongoing threat to public safety. We know how to find him and where to find him. So in other words, because he's a cop and he assaulted a 13-year-old kid, pulled his service revolver on this 13-year-old kid or his automatic weapon on this 13-year-old kid and discharged it in public where other people were present, he's still free. There was no threat to public safety. When does firing a motherfucking gun in public amongst people not pose a threat to public safety? You see how cops lie and cover for one another? Back to the story. The video, which was shared widely online, appears to show the officer holding on to the 13-year-old boy while being jostled by the teen's friends. The tussle continues until the cop pulls the pair into a hedge before pulling out his weapon and firing it. It doesn't show how the confrontation began or what led to the gun firing incident. But once again, this Wyatt character, who's a spokesman for the Anaheim PD, said there was no threat ever to public safety. But how is it that a man can fire a firearm, discharge a weapon, when there are kids around, and you classify that as no threat to public safety? So in other words, this representative of the Anaheim PD, Mr. Wyatt, is a liar, because the facts don't support what he said. It was indeed a threat to public safety. Anytime you discharge a weapon, anybody can be hit. Back to the story. My understanding from the statements was that the round was not fired at anyone, was not even fired in the direction of the individuals involved, but may have been more towards the ground, Mr. Wyatt said. So Mr. Wyatt evidently, obviously never heard of a ricochet shot. Never heard of an accidental shot where you're aiming at the ground, but in the process of being jostled, you actually aim up and hit somebody. You would think that the police department in Anaheim a suburb of LA, would have more experience at concocting a plausible bullshit lie story to cover their asses. Wouldn't you? Anaheim Mayor Tom Tate said in a statement that, like many in the community, I've seen the video and I'm very concerned about what it shows. Anaheim is committed to a full and impartial investigation, Mayor Tom Tate said. Our city will move forward without delay. Los Angeles police have also launched an internal investigation into the officers' actions. The LAPD said the confrontation began over ongoing issues with juveniles, again, children, walking across the officer's property, which in my mindset, my common sense and logic tell me, if children are walking across your lawn, do you get a gun and fire it in the ground? Do you start assaulting them and pulling on them and tussling with them? Is that how America handles kids walking across your lawn? God, I'm glad I don't have any lawn in America. The LAPD didn't identify the officer. Of course not. And he's on administrative leave, which is a paid vacation, in case you're wondering. The 13-year-old was arrested and released after being booked at Orange County Juvenile Hall on charges of criminal threats and battery. Let me get this straight, okay? A 13-year-old kid is arrested on charges of criminal threats and battery when a grown-ass off-duty cop who pulls a weapon, fires it in the ground, and also wrestles with this child is free, not charged with anything. What is a threat? What is a criminal threat if it's not pulling a gun and firing it in the ground? Is that not a criminal threat? Battery. Did the kid batter himself? Or was this off-duty officer also involved in battery? You see where I'm going with this? The grown-ass off-duty cop is free, no charges, paid vacation. The kid, 13-year-old child, gets booked and now has a record. And you tell me law enforcement officers in America are right and just? You want to tell me blue lives matter? Back to the story. A 15-year-old friend who was arrested on suspicion of assault and battery was released to his parents. Dorsch, the grandmother of this child who was arrested, the 13-year-old who got into the scuffle with this grown-ass man off-duty cop, said her grandson was sticking up for a 13-year-old girl who drew the officer's ire. She said the officer swore at the kids. The grandmother continues, it's just a terrible situation. It could have been handled completely in a different manner, and I agree with her. Cops all over America, hell, all over the world, need to understand how to fucking de-escalate a situation. She continues, he's a good kid. He does all the right things. He has a good heart. I think that's why he stuck up for the girl. Jennifer Rojas, a policy advocate at the American Civil Liberties Union of Southern California, told NBC Los Angeles that the organization was deeply disturbed by the reports and had demanded a full explanation of why, in an altercation between the police officer and youths, the youths were arrested, but not the officer who fired his gun. Same fucking question I've been asking. An officer, even an off-duty officer, has an obligation to follow the law and protect public safety rather than threaten it, Ms. Rojas said. The LAPD officer's actions on the video are grossly irresponsible. No shit. Sherlock. God, this world is fucked up. Now, some Anaheim officials have gone on record saying they're disturbed by the gun incident with this off-duty cop. The mayor and the police chief of Anaheim, California, say they are disturbed by what the video shows of this off-duty LA cop firing his gun during a confrontation with a teenager. Police chief Raul, I know I'm going to butcher his name, Police Chief Raul Quezada said no one has been formally charged in the incident, which took place Tuesday afternoon as some teens walked home from school, and this has sparked a protest in that neighborhood. Quesada and Mayor Tom Tate both said Thursday they were thankful no one was wounded when the officer fired a handgun into the ground. The police chief went on to say, as a father, I too am disturbed by what I saw in the video that were posted on the internet. He said he hopes a criminal investigation into the matter, which involves several teens and this off-duty LA police officer who lives in Anaheim, will be completed within 2 weeks. That's a pretty quick time to get to the bottom of a situation such as this. Truly it is. I don't know what to say, folks. I mean, let's be honest here. Here's another case. This is another case of law enforcement covering their asses. Law enforcement officials protecting one of their own. The thin blue line is actually a thin blue lie. Police in America are not held accountable for their actions. What they are is given a free pass, a free ride, a never go to jail free card instead of a get out of jail free card. This off-duty cop should have been arrested for endangering the lives of every one of those teenagers present. And it's in a residential neighborhood. So that bullet that he fired into the ground could have ricocheted off of a rock or anything and penetrated the glass of any of those homes in that area, not to mention the skin of one of those teenagers. To say that the public safety was never threatened when an off-duty cop scuffling with teenagers shoots his weapon into the ground is a lie. And it's also meant to make us think we don't have enough common sense or logic or reasoning to know that discharging your weapon in public around a group of teenagers in a residential area is a threat to public safety. We're just stupid. We believe whatever we're told by law enforcement officials because, hey, everybody knows law enforcement officials don't lie. They tell the truth. They're only here to serve and protect. This is a case. This is an incident of justice gone wrong. And I know this will be expensive. I know it will cost a lot of money to a lot of police departments. But every single law enforcement officer on a police force or in a law enforcement agency needs to be psychologically profiled and investigated every 6 months. Everybody who carries a weapon in America needs to have a sit down with a psychiatrist, a therapist, a psychologist every 6 months. Period. If you own a weapon, you need to be tested by a shrink to make sure you should be allowed to own a weapon of mass destruction And that's what a gun is. Anytime you can kill more than one person with something, it's a weapon of mass destruction. You don't believe that to be a fact? Think about all the shootings that have happened in America in the last 50 years by guns. This cop needs to be fired, terminated, and not hired by any other law enforcement agency worldwide. I'm out of here. It's February, Negro History Month. Be well, stay safe, avoid the motherfucking cops. Namaste.